Hi, this is Eva for Midnight Mandela. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing? So, what's going on today? I'm gonna see who's in first. I think somebody said something about the sky or something. I did notice it was just sort of weird today. I don't know how to describe it. Carolyn Thranen's in. Jumping Ship. Fear God and love Him with all your heart and soul is in. Marley Trotter, David Kent, let's see, through Mary S. Shari D, welcome. The Logical Danger. Dead GPK is in. I think that's most of you guys. Yeah, the sky, I don't know how to describe it, and maybe it was my imagination. Doug Frenner's in, welcome. But it just seemed like a weird color today. It was just a little bit more blue tones, and I don't know if I was just being emotional, but it just seemed like even though it was all clear blue sky, it just seemed like it was like closing in a little bit or something. It was just a weird feeling I had. Did GPK heard of the derecho storms? Yes, that one has been on. I agreed that's a Mandela. When did that cover that? A few months ago, 6 months ago, something like that. They're getting really strong and weird too, the derecho storms. Okay, so this first one. Okay, part of the reason I was late was I was trying to figure out who gave me this one. And if you know, let me know, because I was looking through my comments and I didn't see it, and I looked at Retcon and I didn't see it, but I know that I got this from somebody. I don't know, Shari, did you send this one in private? But I just didn't write it down, and then I was like, ah. Okay, so what's the pig doing on the thumbnail? Okay, so you're not going to believe this. Okay. So first there was turtles, and some sea creatures could breathe through their butt. I should have known that wasn't the end of that story. So now they're saying that pigs, rodents, and possibly humans could breathe through their butt. So the turtles do it naturally, but this one, for the rest of us, I guess we need a little assistance. So the story is that they took the mucosa out of the intestines of rats. So it's basically you clean out the slime. And then they pumped oxygen in there. I mean, who thinks of these things? Um, they pumped oxygen in there, and then they took the oxygen away from the rest of the air, and they saw how long the mice could live. And they could live a lot longer if they pumped the oxygen in. It was like 60 minutes versus 50 minutes versus 11 minutes if they pump the oxygen. So they would die in 11 minutes with no butt oxygen. They would die in 50 minutes with butt oxygen. Okay, so and they go, well, it's not going to work for humans if you have to remove the mucus. So they tried other things, and one thing they tried was putting this oxygenated chemical called conjugated perfluorocarbon up in there, and like that worked. It contains 10% oxygen. And so that worked pretty good. It's not 100% replacement of lungs, but I'm like, I can't believe I'm even talking about this, okay? So then their final solution answer was the level of arterial oxygenation provided by our ventilation system, if scaled for human application, is likely sufficient to treat patients with severe respiratory failure, potentially providing life-saving oxygenation. So don't worry about the respiratory viruses, because we'll just pump air up your butt. Or no, actually, they're going to be pumping oxygenated perfluorocarbons up, or whatever they end up using. But oh, you can't make this up. Now, who told me this? Because I apologize, I didn't write it down like a dork. Rope tornado or what? Happens sometimes before big tornado. Oh, I'll check that one out. Rope tornado. People's necks getting longer. Possibly. I didn't specifically notice that, but We probably would not have noticed the M if we weren't grouped by common experiences that change. I think so, yeah. I had seen that things were weird, but then I asked people around me and they just, would blank out on it mostly. Most of the time when I'd ask, like, why does the cloud look like that? Or I don't remember the sky looking that light. And people would just, like, it was like I didn't say anything. It was weird. They didn't even answer, no, it's always been that way. They just would, like, it was like I was talking to the wall. It was strange. Even people who don't normally do that. My husband has seen 3 personal Emmys with me, can't explain them, and still doesn't believe. Yeah, I think it's just too hard for some people. Okay, so you're talking about the different planets shifting around, and then you did a planet project for science fair. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm guessing that it would probably, if you still had it, would have altered also, would be my guess. Hard to say for sure, but this reminds me of the South Park episode. I know, I know. So I guess we're gonna breathe through the butts now, maybe in the future. I'm like, first the turtles, and now I wouldn't be surprised if more animals come up being able to do that too. Our chins have a bump and are sloped now. Yeah, well, there's like more here, and then there's like that weird hook that's on the side of the jaws, and then way back here it's got the 2 forks that it didn't used to have. Okay, so I apologize to whoever found that one and I didn't write you down because it wasn't Shari then. I don't know who the heck told me that. Where am I? In San Diego. That's my location. So yeah, it was really clear out today. I mean, there was no clouds or anything, but somehow it just seemed, I don't know how to describe it. It just seemed like everything was kind of flat or something. There are a bunch of new elements added to the periodic table that never existed. Yeah. And if you check, they were added like before you were born too. Like kryptonite, that's the definite one. I mean, there's others I'm really suspicious about, but earlobes have changed. I think my ears have gotten a little more elfish on the top, but I think the lobes haven't changed. Wait, it was me sent it to you. Yes, I thought it might have been you, Shari. Okay, thanks. I'll write you down. You are the one. Thank you. That was such a good find. I was going through my sources, and I'm like, maybe it was Shari, and then I'm like, it'll take forever to look through the 10 million old conversations I've had. Okay, good. I feel good. Thank you, Shari. That was the funniest one. I just laughed so hard. It's like Clown World. All right, so I don't have like a million of them, but that one, I don't know. I don't know if you guys thought that was really weird, but I don't even know what to say. I mean, South Park, like somebody said, I mean, it's like it belongs on South Park. Jumping ships in, hello. Marley Trotter. Oh, that was like way up at the top. I'm like, Mandanimals in. Memorized the table in high school. I did too, but then I promptly like forgot a lot of it. But I mean, I know which ones don't, like I've never heard of those before. You may not be able to remember every last word each one goes, but you should at least have heard of them. Okay, so I don't know how this is going to spin out, but I'll be keeping an eye on it. So this kind of shows how it is, because first you get the turtles and like the little sponge, whatever those little sponge creatures are, and then there's turtles, and then now it's pigs, rats, and humans. So you see how it grows. It's like once the idea is planted, then it grows. Okay, next one. All right, another super weird one. This one is from Jay Emblin. Good find. The medical mystery one. So this one was on mainstream TV, so some of you might have heard of it. It's a good story too, but there was no good picture for it, so. You would think they'd have a photo of this, but maybe there just wasn't that much to see. So we're not talking about Tree Man here. And I'm not going to play too much of this because copyright. Quit it. All right, so apparently, I'm just going to say what it is because... So this one was on the show called Monsters Inside of Me, which can be like really depressing because everybody starts out like they have the flu or some minor pain, and then it turns out to be some super creepy crap. Okay, so this dude on Monsters Inside Me basically started having like pain in the palm of his hand. And what's weird is when they actually went in there to see, and it was like really bad. And so, you know, they look at the hand and they don't really see anything, but he got this horrible pain. So when they went in there, they found these white growths inside his hand. And what they found out what they are was freaking barnacles. So Barnacles. Barnacles like grow in the ocean. So somehow barnacles got growing in his hand. So they think maybe he got like a little cut or something. And then like little embryonic barnacles, which are really tiny, I guess, when they're like in the ocean, got in there. But what's weird is somehow they managed to live in there. So they're saying, oh, human blood is really close to seawater. And so somehow these freaking barnacles attached onto, what did they say? Attached to this sheath on the tendon of his hand and then just started growing. And so that's why it was excruciating, because it was like on the tendon. And so every time he tried to move, it would just, and then of course they're hard, they're freaking barnacles. So this is, I'm like, how can that live in there? So what, you can just get barnacles in a cut and have them grow now? So, you know, something like this, basically, these ocean barnacles were growing in there. And that's just insane. I wonder if they, you know, see, they grow on gray whales and stuff now. That's actually a Mandela for me, too, because I don't remember barnacles growing, not that kind of barnacles, growing on whales. Not like that. Look, so this guy's like covered with barnacles. They used to grow on ships and boats and piers and stuff, but I don't remember this kind of thing. Open image. And so I don't know. It just, this timeline and its parasites. All right, so these are all barnacles that used to just grow on the pier for me. So I guess if you get a cut now, you can have these little stinky things growing inside of you. Be careful, because I actually have cut my hands on barnacles before. When they say they're sharp, they are not kidding. You think, oh, they're kind of sharp. No, they're like razor sharp, where you just touch it like that and your hand is cut open. Never underestimate barnacles, because I very much just barely touch them. And then I didn't realize it. They're so sharp you don't even feel the pain. And then later I had blood all over my hand. So never do that. But yeah, it never occurred to me that freaking barnacles could grow in there. That is totally creepy. Barnacles grow on things, not in them. Yeah, not anymore. A guy I work with said the Panama Canal goes east to west. I said it goes north-south. He said he must have misremembered, of course. The feed is strong. No, it's still complaining about the resolution, though. Anybody getting the podcast? Is there a link into being RH negative and Mandela effect? Not that I know of. In fact, I didn't even have RH negative before, so. I mean, my timeline originally didn't have that, so. So I don't know. My husband once cut his hand with them, the barnacles. We had to go to emergency. Yeah, all they did was barely touch them too. I mean, it was like I put my hand on a packet of razors or something. So human skin is like metal ship poles. It looks like they can just grow on whatever's now. Didn't anyone hear the Mandela effect where as everyone's currency denominations all have the same year? I do not recall hearing anything about that. Okay. All right. Now this is another one from J. Emlyn, who is busy. Okay, so this one was the runner-up for the thumbnail. So they have a bug that looks like a piece of popcorn now. Tiny Amazonian bug looks like a walking piece of popcorn. It's called the Ecuadorian nymph. Can you imagine you saw that? You thought it was popcorn? So, I don't see what the advantage of looking like popcorn is. I mean, if you look like that, I think the birds would grab you and carry you away. They would think, oh, what a great little bedding for my home. So it looks like there's quite a variation in these little popcorns. That one doesn't not look as popcorny. There's another one. So from the top, I mean, you barely notice. That's extra creepy because it just looks like a harmless piece of popcorn. And then you see the legs. Got to have some creepy insect. Oh, yeah. What's the magnet thing? You know, I actually brought a magnet to pickleball and tried it. And it didn't stick on the person I tried it on. And I didn't want to bug like everybody because it already looked kind of stupid. So I don't know what's up with that. I mean, it could be. Okay, so what am I even talking about? There's a internet thing going around where some people who have had the arm poke, supposedly if you put, this is not a magnet, but say you put a magnet, it would stick onto their skin like something's magnetic under there in the region around the poke, but not anywhere else and not in the arm that you didn't get the poke in. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of videos, people even like, you know, wiping down their skin and still sticking it and like that. But I didn't get it, so I can't test myself. But I did bring a magnet and I tried somebody and I couldn't see anything. It's a fairly strong magnet. So somebody was telling me, well, maybe you should get like a stronger but lighter magnet. But I, you know, if this is happening, it is not happening, clearly not happening on everybody. As for non-vaccine, I did notice, yes, Jumping Ship brings up an interesting thing. Just use code words for what you're talking about, because if there's too many V words in here, then it'll bring the censors, and so I have to be really careful what I say, because it looks at everything. So, you know, just use arm poke and other stuff. We don't want to get attention in here. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, for blood donation, they are requiring that you have not had the arm poke, which is interesting. Of all the things they would worry about, I mean, like, maybe I have hepatitis C and I don't know it. Maybe I have bronchitis, Lyme disease. Maybe I have mono. I mean, they don't test for any of that stuff. But if you have the arm poke, I mean, I thought it was interesting that they care. I would have actually thought maybe they would just mark it down if you've had the arm poke, but you can take a wall stud finder and it will go off against a arm poke person's arm. Yeah, I don't know. You know, the trouble is that I just tried that magnet thing and I didn't see anything. So I'm a little cautious until I see it with my own eyeballs. So, but maybe it happens only in maybe 1 out of 100 of the arm poke people. I don't know. So I'm still, you know, a little on the fence about it though. If your popcorn tries to crawl away, don't eat it. Yep. The Chinese one doesn't stick either. The Chinese one. Are you talking about the Chinese arm poke? There's no, because the Chinese arm poke from China, the one that their country developed, is a traditional arm poke where they use dead virus and an adjuvant. So it's not an RNA DNA style arm poke like ours are. You know, at least according to what they say. And I believe the India one may also supposedly be a traditional style. Maybe 30s, unders only magnetized. You know, I did see a video of this lady. I think she was definitely over 30. And she had like this bracelet with a magnetic clasp thing. And she was able to stick the whole bracelet on. Now, it wasn't a real heavy bracelet, but still. It really did not look like it was some kind of scam with her bracelet thing, though. You know, it seems like the ones, you know, there's all these people from different walks of life and stuff. I mean, some of them don't even speak English hardly. I will wait until my brother has his second poke. Then I will tell you. Yeah, you guys just check it and see, you know, just because it's on the internet. I don't know. We need to get our own data, though. I mean, RH blood is copper-based, RH positive is iron-based. Is there any data on that? I've never heard of that. I know both, you know, red blood needs copper. Well, you need iron, too. I don't know. I've not heard of any difference between that. Do you have any, like, science on that? I'd be curious. The Sputnik is somehow traditional too, so they say. I don't know, when I was looking at that, it looked like it was one of those, let's see. I think we checked that before, and it was a modified adenovirus ones. And those are DNA pokes. So the modified adenovirus goes in and injects into the cell nucleus the new DNA, which sits alongside the existing DNA. I'm pretty sure Sputnik was that when I checked it last time. All right, so New Zealand. Okay, I don't know, this one might be kind of a boring one, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. Pretty sure we can zoom in. So the last time I did this, I have said this multiple times. I think that that for me, New Zealand was one island or whatever, one chunk of land. And it didn't have this stick on the top. And I really feel like this division here has gotten a lot bigger in the last few years. But I also think that there's going to be another split right there at Auckland. And I've covered this before, but last time I checked, there was 2 miles of land left. But I checked it, yesterday? And now we're down to like a 3/4 mile. So basically, this piece right here is all that's holding the two sections together. Now, you could argue that there's a continental crust underneath New Zealandia, but basically we're here, and so if you look up there, it's about 0.7 miles, because here to here is 1 mile, and that is less than that. So about 0.7 miles, 0.7 is less than 1 mile. So last time I checked here, it was 2 miles. I'll switch to satellite so you can kind of see. So yeah, it's like through to at least here, but more like here. The other thing is, I remember there being quite the little inlet on this side before, but that appears to be gone now. Now, it could be that I previously was looking at this swoop of it, but I do know it was 2 miles, so we're down to 0.75. So basically that it's working on its split. Back to map. And I think I mentioned this before, but this one is called now like North Island. And I never used to see that on the map with the North Island. So I think that this chunk here, Northland, yeah, Northland. I think this chunk's going to calve off and be a third chunk of New Zealand here. This one's gotten really wide. I've been watching that for like 4 years, and I only got 1 1/3 mile of progress on it for right there. But it has gotten a lot wider over here. I've been very patient with that one. I'm like, finally. Okay, now this one, I don't know if you recall or that you've heard, but Barack Obama's dog that he had in the White House has said to have recently died. So there's a bunch of weird stuff with that I realized when I saw the photo. I'm like, wait a minute, that photo is not how I remember that dog. So looking back, not in the photo you just saw in the last week or so, but what do you remember about that dog that Barack Obama had in the White House? And if there's any corrections to my statements that I'm saying now, also bring those up. But not from what you heard this last week or two. I'm talking about what you remember years ago when he was in the White House. So anything that you've learned in the last 2 weeks, ixnay on that one, just from the past. Or if you've noticed any variations. So one question I'll ask you is, what color was the dog that you remember he had in the White House many years ago? Because this one's a big one for me, and it might be kind of a small thing, but there were very specific things that I was thinking about when I saw the dog he selected. Because I'm always really curious, each breed has its personality, why you select a breed, why you select colors. So it seems like if you're president and you're kind of getting a dog sort of just to look more presidential, which I kind of felt was part of the story, that you would select very carefully. You can almost have any dog in the world, and I'm sure that the breeder would happily sell it to you. Then you don't just get the first dog that you stumble on. So I actually spent a lot of time thinking about it. I mean, not a lot, but Shara D remembers black. My crazy geography story is when I visited my brother in Fort Worth, Texas. It was way more southeast. Now it moved way up northwest. Wouldn't be surprised. I know Sacramento has moved a lot for me, which is the capital of our state. No matter what timeline we are in, there will always be taxes. Hey, man. Don't think negative thoughts. I know it's easy to think that one, but I'm for voting we're going to abolish both death and taxes. The capital of New Zealand is not Auckland. Are you serious? That's funny. What is it then? I swear it was Auckland. Wellington has been the capital of New Zealand since 1865. Wellington? No, that doesn't sound right. Okay, well, yeah, I agree. That's really fishy. Very fishy. I have a reaction to iron heavy foods, iron fortified vitamins. You know what? I just had a really bad experience with zinc. They said, "Oh, take zinc so you don't get the Rona," and man, it just I got the worst taste in my mouth after it digested, and I was just foul. I just can't take that stuff. It just no zinc for me. I think like 10 years ago I tried it and it was the same thing, because then I was like, wait, I remember this kind of. 10 years later I try again, haven't learned my lesson. I told, yeah. I remember the story about how the girls wanted a dog after the election and they adopted one. Yeah. That is the story I remember, but now there's more to it. Have I heard of the Faroe Islands? I have heard of the Faroe Islands, but only in recent years. I'm not sure if there's a Faroe Islands. I've not heard of that. I found good residue from Fruit of the Loom. There's that one that was called Flute of the Loom, which was interesting. Flute of the Loom. You need to balance your metals with your greens. I don't know. I'm just not taking zinc anymore, man. Nah. Even just one pill is not going to happen. I researched the patent in 1906. It clearly states in worded description that patent covers MS fruit in a cornucopia. Oh, that's interesting. Fear God and love. They had to choose a dog that was hyperallergenic. Yes. Okay, so, what's the name of that dog? Bo. That's right. Bo Obama. Okay, so this is the first dog. The first dog. This is the first one that he got. When he, the first dog that he got when he was in the White House. Now, do you notice anything about that dog? Because I sure did. Right when I saw it. This is the dog that recently passed away, supposedly. I've gotten so paranoid, I just put supposedly on everything now. Because I swear it's like some kind of goofy movie. Okay, so, anything different about that dog? From your memory? Too much zinc lowers the copper. All I know is there was a horrible taste when I took the zinc. And they said that when you take zinc, you can sometimes taste it. But it was foul. Not right when I took it, but after it digested. It's just like, it was just a foul taste. But it was kind of aluminum mixed with like rotted flavor or something. It was just totally foul. I'm never taking it again. Somehow harder to change official documents like a patent. That's weird. Yes, it is. Shari says, no, this is not the dog. Yeah, see? Aha, ha, ha. Yes, okay. You remember it. Eliza. See, when you see it, it becomes obvious. Now, I could have... I take liquid zinc. It tastes salty. No, the taste is not when I first consume it. It's later, after it goes through my bloodstream, that I could taste it. So yes, this is in this timeline his first dog, and I could almost maybe see myself not noticing that white patch, although it's pretty prominent. But this freaking two-tone front feet, there's no way I didn't notice. That dog was all black. And I'll tell you some of my personal memories that also tie in is that, I mean, it sounds a little obnoxious, but I was just thinking, he got a dog that matches him, as far as skin. But I also wondered if people would read anything into an all-black dog as, maybe some kind of demonic thing or whatever. Because basically when Obama was in, they were looking for anything to prove that he was evil or whatever. And since he is a politician, I don't trust him, but no more nor less than all the rest of them. All right, so there he is with his first dog. All obviously very, very white in the front. Now, I didn't even know these dogs came in that color either. I would also say that I remember that dog being a little thinner. I don't know if the breed is maybe altered a bit, but I remember him being more poodle-like. He just seems a lot more beefy than I remember. Now, some of it could be the trim, but I don't really see any images of him quite as thin as I recall. So now here's where it gets fishy, and I am positive that I did not screw this up, because I remember watching the first dog coming in to the White House. They showed it all the time. And I was really curious what kind of dog he would get, what it would look like. I'm really into dogs, and so it just kind of means something to me. I'm also very good at recognizing dogs. So again, there he is. So here's the thing. In the current timeline, he then got a second dog later. And the second dog was all black. So, I mean, you could easily assume you screwed it up. But no, I specifically remember when he brought the first dog in. Now, I don't remember him ever having two dogs in the White House, but he did. He got the second dog was the second dog was called Sunny and came in 2013. The first dog was Bo. That's the one I remember as Bo, but I remember Bo as being all black. And I don't remember there being a second dog. Now, it's possible I wouldn't have heard of it, but I'm pretty sure there was no second dog. I do know the first dog was black. But here's another thing I never heard of. Now, you may have heard that recently Biden's dog, Major, has had some issues with biting some of the Secret Service. So I was like, wow, that's really bad. I can't believe that they, allowed the dog to stay there. Well, it turns out that Obama's second dog, Sunny, actually bit some kid on the face. So that was in January 2017. And he chomped a kid. So the kid supposedly was trying to kiss him, and he just bit him. And there was a big nasty gash. I mean, does anybody remember that happening? Because I sure don't. It's gross. Now, here's also, the photo is weird. Gosh, it looks like it's... Okay, so Sunny is the all black one. And there's the gash. So I just wonder, I mean, like, how much is this bleeding that they didn't wipe it and then they took a photo later and it was still bleeding or something? It just seems weird that they wouldn't have put like a compress on it, and then by the time you got around to taking a photo, you would think that it would have stopped bleeding. And then see, like this, I don't understand this photo at all. Okay, so you got bit on the face, and there should be purpling and stuff around here, at least some reddening of the area if there was a traumatic injury. The face is so sensitive. You barely smack it and you'll get like a black eye. I don't see how she's going to get chomped and just have one little, it looks like a pen mark on there. So the whole thing is just weird. So like when I look at this one and I'm like, it could be makeup. But then when I look at this other one where it still shows a bright red pen mark thing, I'm like, I don't get it. See, there's the mark there. No purpling at all of the eye. But look at how okay, so I just don't see how it's that bright a red. Usually it turns, scabby and kind of brownish. It really looks almost identical here as it did there. So the whole thing is weird to me. I really feel like I would have heard if, dog bite thing. Again, I'm like all into the dogs. Now this breed is known for friendliness. I would have actually been quite shocked to hear that this dog just chomped some stupid kid. Even if she was kind of obnoxious, I would not expect these breeds to do anything other than like snarl maybe or just run away or whatever. These dogs are not known for this behavior at all. So it's just weird. Shari remembers something. Eliza POW says no dog bite memory. The second dog is really the first dog. Yeah. The second dog's the one who bit somebody now, too. Yeah, see, I remember Shari, one dog. My febrile bottle changed in my cleaning cupboard. Yep. Wouldn't be surprised. It was a water type dog, poodle type hair, smaller, all black. Yeah, I remember it being thinner. So they are still saying it's a Portuguese water dog, and that is what I remember him getting, as a Portuguese water dog. Interestingly, I had never heard of a Portuguese water dog until he got it, and I do know my dogs pretty well, so I did research that dog pretty good when I heard they were getting one. So one would guess it was really rare, but now they're well, I wouldn't say common, but they're not rare. But yeah, I got a pretty good look at them, and they were just, I don't know, they were thinner dog, more trim. Now, poodle style dogs, I mean, this is not a poodle, but they have that kind of hair. It's a little tricky because it depends on how you shave them. They can look pretty thin or pretty fat depending on how they do the hair. But there's no photos like I remember of a very trim dog. They all look kind of beefy compared to the old dog. Yeah, so yeah, you remember the same, a smaller dog. So I would say a medium-sized dog, remember, is what I remember, but thinner and more like bouncy. I don't know that how the smaller dogs are kind of weightless. So I don't know, was this dog death thing shopping around the new reality or what? I don't know. But all I know is I saw that dog and I'm like, wait, that's not the dog. Okay. So buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if we never come back. Yeah, something like that. Jacks. What is it now? Cracker. Now, this is an old ME, though. I remember it changed, but I can't remember what it changed to. Buy me. I think it was missing the S now. Lyrics. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. Yeah, there was an S on it. I don't care if I never get back. I don't care if we never come back. It's not I never get back. It's we never come back. Well, anyway, there's a lot of versions of it now. I know, but I don't care if I ever come back. I was mentioning to a guy at work on and off for 6 months, and one day it clicked for him. Interesting. So you managed to convert someone to the Mandela, huh? I know tons of people, ME, they just don't know it. Yeah. I mean, I see people say things that aren't true in this reality anymore, but they don't know that. All the time I hear it. When it finally hit him, never forget the look on his face. Yeah, it doesn't always work that way. I just get shocked people who never want to talk to me about or never want to talk about it ever again, and they just look worried that I'm even going to bring it up because they're trying to bury it into a deep hole and they don't want me reminding them. It's like a stinky dead body. They don't want it dug up. It's just weird. Oh, somebody was talking about the notifications. I'll tell you, for years now, YouTube has been famously horrible at notifications. They even admitted that they don't send them all out at some point. I think it was, a year ago maybe or more, maybe 2 years ago, they even said we don't send them all out, which just doesn't make any sense. Do they not want people to watch their videos? All right, let's close those down. All right, so magnetic North Pole. If you've heard recently where it is, then don't say that. But years ago, I remember them saying that the magnetic pole, North Pole, had been wandering, and it wandered into what country do you remember, like 10 years ago approximately? So it was no longer at the North Pole, it had wandered into, so not what they said it is recently, but before. Do you remember what they said it was before? I'm just curious. One YouTuber was talking about David Wilcock, calling him David Wilcox. She was Emmy affected, didn't know. I don't know that dude, so I can't respond. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. Like Sally Fields. People say that all the time still. I gotta say, people losing their souls for pizza and beer. I don't know if you're talking about the arm poke, but you know, I doubt that that's really it. They're not doing it for pizza and beer. They're doing it because they think it's a good idea. Plus, they got some pizza and beer. My sister is history, geography major. She said Earth has always been like it is. You know, if she's been watching it the whole time, it does shift bit by bit. And so your memory just keeps getting remapped each time you look at it. So you might not notice the shifts so easily. What was the question from Eva? Okay, so if you've heard years ago that the magnetic North Pole was wandering, where did it wander to? Not where it is right now, but where was it like 10 years ago? Because I have a really specific place where I know I heard them say it was. So if you don't know, then then you don't know, because either you remember or you don't. But. Question: if you believe in God, is it possible that God could decide to work signs and wonders? Why give all the credit to the other guy? You know, well, it says in the Bible, if you have faith, you can move mountains. So do we even know maybe all three of those have an effect? Maybe we do, God does, the devil does. Maybe there's a lot going on there. Maybe there's a battle. That's what I tend to think these days. We're like the middle ground, basically. We're the battleground area. Humans. It was definitely not in Russia. Shari, you're so not from my timeline. Australia no longer down under. Okay, for me, it's in Canada right now. Yes. For me, it was in Siberia. And they said for years it was wandering through Siberia. I kind of kept an ear open for that because I don't know. I guess I thought, maybe it's moving faster. No, it's still in Siberia. Australia is the land out over. Yeah. So if you look at it, magnetic North Pole wandering. Let me see if I can find a little map of it. I don't want to go back to like ancient times. Some of these go back to like when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I just want them to tell me what it was since I have been alive. Apparent pole wandering path for Eurasia. No. Okay, well basically, if I can find this, it was in Canada, and then it kind of moved out into the ocean. So it's in the ocean right now. It better not have changed since like 2 days ago. I'm going to be a little irritated. I don't know why I called it. Yeah, magnetic pole map. Let me try that instead. That ought to work. All right, so this is not the world's best map, but basically, since about 2000, it's been out in the ocean. Here's Greenland. It wasn't there. So it was in Canada in 1920 to around 19... This is 1960. So what is that, like 1980, 90? And then in 2000, it's out here. So since about 1990, it's been out in the ocean. That's not what I remember. So there's 2000. So it's just like... And oh, interestingly, it actually is getting closer to the actual North Pole. So what I remember is wandering away from the North Pole in Siberia. So it was out that way, and it was like trucking. It was like running away. But here, it's actually heading back towards the actual North Pole, the geological North Pole. So that's really interesting. That's the complete opposite of what I remember. They were saying it was leaving. So there's two Mandelas in there. I just caught that second one. Anyone see old photos of early history with people carrying cell phones? Now, I've definitely seen old photos with people holding something in their hand that is rectangular. But I can't say beyond that. It could be a radio. I don't know. Dinosaurs were discovered by a guy who wrote a book about them, and the same guy discovered the first dinosaur bones 1 year to the day of his book being published. No one had ever found a bone prior. Huh, that sounds weird. How did he write a book about dinosaurs when he never even found a bone before? How do you know about dinosaurs before the bones are discovered? Jay, stay, getting it in. It's been a marathon, but our race is finishing up. We have got to finish the race. Don't know. Mary S. remembers Siberia. Ask people where Santa Claus lives. You know, I asked my friend where he lives, and he said Canada. I remember that because that was early on in my Mandela knowledge experience, and I was like shook, as they say, these kids nowadays. I was shocked and disturbed because I thought for sure I was going to get him on the North Pole, and he said freaking Canada. Wait a second. Last week it was in Russia. Now it's in Canada. Actually, now it's out in the ocean since a while. Yeah, like, does he live in the ocean? There's no ice cap. Well, there's floating sea ice out there, so he could sit on his floating sea ice, not really permanent ice floe floating shack? I don't know. What country built the sun sim? Well, you know, if everything else can magically change, the sun could magically change. And if they're going to fake the moon, why didn't they keep the orbit the same as it was before? I think there's more than just that. Because he inventing the idea. Okay, I'm going to have to check into this a bit. Guy who found first dinosaur bone. So basically, if there's like manifestation, you could argue that this guy thought it up and then it manifested. As per researchers, Robert Plot, there's a name for you, discovered the first bone in 1677, although he thought it was a bone of a giant human. In 1819, professor of geology at Oxford University, William Buckland, did some research, and then he identified for that first time that it was a dinosaur fossil. It was late 1824 that he finished his study and named them. Okay, first book on dinosaurs? Will that work? Sours. Who wrote the first dinosaur novel? Oh, this is not helping. It's all modern stuff. All right, so we know 1677 was when the bones were discovered. So let's look at Robert Plott book, because he discovered the first bone. Did he write a book? Let's try the wiki. So again, it's 1677. Natural History and Chemistry. June 1674 with patrogens from John Fell. Plott began collecting artifacts, publishing his findings 3 years later in the Natural History of Oxfordshire. In this book, he described and illustrated various rocks, minerals, and fossils, including the first known illustration of a dinosaur bone, which he attributed to a giant, but believed that most fossils are not remains of living organisms, but rather crystallizations of mineral salts with a coincidental zoological form. All right, so you find something that looks like a bone, but you say it's just a crystallization of mineral salts? That seems a little, that just happens to look like a bone. And I mean, they feel like bones. That does not make any sense to me at all. If you ever hold a fossil, I sell fossils. I have them, not real rare ones, just the cheapy ones. I have fossils. There is no freaking way that you are going to say that that's a crystal. None of them. It's a whole different thing. And yes, they're very easy to recognize as a part of an animal, especially the bone ones and stuff. But the claw ones and stuff, I mean, you're definitely going to go, ooh, that looks like it came from a creature. All right, so let's see. He published his findings 3 years later, so 75, 6, 7. So that would be 77. And that's when he found the bone. So, I don't know. So in his work, this Natural History of Oxfordshire, he did describe this dinosaur bone. So it looks like he found the bone and wrote the book then afterwards in this current storyline. According to the wiki, however you want to trust that. Yeah, you'd think that they would have found those bones through history, though. Especially in the old days, people spent a lot of time outside working. They weren't all sitting in their offices. The majority of the world wasn't paved. I mean, you're basically stumbling over natural stuff all the time. Oh, okay. Are you talking about that? There was a story, I believe, that Chinese were talking about building a sun sim or something like that. Let's see. Who built sun simulation? China. Yes, it was China. Has built an artificial sun, and it's incredibly hot. Just weeks after we learned the country was making a fake moon, we learned that its Earth-based sun simulator is producing temperatures of 100 something. So what is it, a bunch of mirrors or something? 100 million degrees Celsius. The core of the actual sun reaches 15 million degrees Celsius. So this artificial sun is considerably hotter. But scientists believe that is around the minimum temperature needed to create conditions suitable for nuclear fusion. Okay, so I guess that's their sun simulation. So they're simulating the conditions in the sun. They're not actually trying to make a fake sun, at least in this one. Have any of you looked into the mile-high, 1,000-feet-wide trees that covered Earth, that produce quartz, gold, etc.? You know what I see? It just looks like weird mountains to me. I have dealt with petrified wood before. I have chunks of it. Usually you can see the veining and stuff. I don't see that in any of these landforms. That's to say, I don't really remember those weird tree-looking landforms being there 10 years ago to start with. So I don't know how that's going to morph over the timelines. It may be that they're working on it. You know, I don't know. I would say that right now I'm not convinced, but I'm going to give me a few shifts, get a little more info. I might change my mind. Wouldn't surprise me. No, nothing does anymore. Waiting for alien invasion. Oh, you know, there's so many people talking about it. They have been since last year, and then they're releasing stuff. Was it in June? They're supposed to be, they have to, like, U.S. government has to release info because somehow this requirement was slipped into one of the pandemic bills that went through legislature that you have to release UFO stuff because the pandemic is so dangerous that we need to stop and slip in something about the UFOs. And suddenly the government totally admits they're real and all that. Something's weird's going on. There's definitely a very weird and sudden change of attitude going on there. The official story is what you'll find on Wiki. Do any of us buy into that? You know what? That's what Wiki is going to basically tell you what's on the internet. And let's face it, unless you have the book in your hand or you really, really hunt. I mean, if you really hunt down, but that's going to take hours, and I really don't have time for it on this show when I just got told it. But that's going to be, Wiki is usually fairly accurate summary of what is on the internet. Not saying that that's true, but what we're looking for right now is what's on the internet. None of the bones in so-called natural history museums are skeletons. They are plaster casts for your mind to believe in. Yes, well, they say it's because they can't risk the bones because people are violent heathens, which people often are. But it does build up a interesting counter scenario, doesn't it now? So I'll tell you, you know, I do sell fossils. As far as I can tell, they are legit. I occasionally break them open to see because sometimes fossils are faked. I just sell the cheap ones though, so usually there's not a big market for faking like a 30-cent fossil. It's easier to just dig it out. But yeah, that does bring up an interesting thing. But see, the other argument is that there has been a lot of controversy on how a fossil is formed and how long it takes to form a fossil or petrification. So historically, we've been told that it takes like millions of years as the minerals slowly replace the organic matter and yam. But you know, for decades now, I've been hearing rumors of like fence posts getting fossilized, you know, so it may be 100-year-old fence posts getting petrified at the bottom in mineral rich areas and stuff. So the seeds have been laid for some time now that maybe fossilization can happen really quickly. So maybe just a couple 100 years ago. So who the heck knows? I don't know how it's going to spin out. We are in a real life Matrix movie. Something like that. It's like Matrix meets Twilight Zone. The one thing about the Matrix is after they still had a real place, you know, that so they said, okay, Earth is a Matrix, but then, you know, in the core of the Earth was the real place. I don't know if we have a real place. Maybe there is no real place like we think of it. Maybe the real place is really like a spiritual place, is what I mean. Like, maybe what we assumed about the Earth was always wrong, and there is no place that's like what we thought we assumed about the Earth. They found a kind of sea creature walking on the sea ground, and they thought it died thousands of years ago. Yeah, but have you ever heard of that thing before? So it could have just been inserted in the timeline. Matrix movie with never-ending story. Yeah, there's that. You make your own reality. Okay, let's see. Let's close down some links here. All right, where are we? Okay, these guys. So these have been around for a while for me, but there's a new part to the story. I'm always bad at spelling these. Okay, so I've heard some people think these are Mandela. I do know they go way back for me. Like at least 15 years, these cute little guys. I'm not even sure how to say it. Axolotl, I guess. Axolotl. So they were special in that you could like cut off parts and they would regrow them, like a foot, a tail. Okay, so that was all there was. These guys were just special because they could regrow parts. And then they said that they never really left their it's not the fully formed form. Like they just would only have this form, which was not embryonic, but it was God, they're looking extra cute lately too. So anyways, but basically that's what they would say, that they didn't have a normal adult lizard form. Okay, so here's the thing. I've looked into these before. I've heard about them lots of times. I've looked into their regeneration, but I never once heard this, that occasionally they will metamorphose past this form and become an actual lizard. Axolotl. This one showed up pretty recently for me, I think. Let's see. I think that one shows one. So, they turn into, I believe this is a morphed axolotl, this guy, and then this is another kind of lizard. You can see they're pretty close, and they're in the same family. So when the axolotls metamorphose, they change to look a lot like this guy, but without the coloration. They keep their pinky face. So I've never heard of this happening. So the storyline now is that, and this story is suspicious to me, but the storyline is that in order to turn into an adult lizard, they need iodine, because they need iodine to function their thyroid, and they somehow ended up in an environment with low iodine. I don't really get that though, because they live where all these other, man, there's a real loud ringing right now. Don't they live where all these other lizards live? And all these other lizards had enough iodine to operate their thyroid gland to change into adult lizards. But somehow this axolotls did not, is the story. Ooh, somebody gave me money. I heard that much. $10, thank you. Think happy thoughts. Excellent plan. Check under your blankets before you jump to bed. Oh, come on now. Axolotls are cute. Dun, dun, dun. Reality is a projection driven by the engine of time. Okay, so, all right, where were we? Axolotls. I've lost my chain of thought. Okay, so the story is that they didn't have enough iodine. Okay, so they must have some. I don't think you could really survive without it. And all these other lizards somehow managed it. So since they didn't have enough iodine, even though all the other lizards did, and to reach adulthood, even though the other lizards look almost like the same and they're highly related and all that. So instead of, like, say, adapting to need less iodine or getting a taste for foods that have more iodine, somehow nature decided the easiest or most likely route would be to learn how to reproduce in embryonic form. So that's why these axolotls supposedly just, like, started reproducing when they weren't full grown lizards, whereas all of their brethren have to be full grown lizards. But sometimes now, for no apparent reason, they will just decide to become full grown lizards anyways. So then you'll need to take them out of the tank because they don't have enough. They have to sit on land now because they're not water breathers once they're adults, lizards, fully formed. And they need to breathe air. And see, they don't have those funky gill things sticking out of the side of their face. There's another one. So they still have to have. So as a reminder, these are the unmetamorphosed ones. And here is the metamorphosed ones. See, no gills. Okay, so that's the story, that nature decided to just make these unmetamorphosed ones somehow breed early before they're metamorphosed instead of doing the iodine thing. But sometimes they just randomly now decide to metamorphose. And the other way you could do it is to shoot them up with iodine. So supposedly if you shoot iodine into them, they'll metamorphose. But if you do the iodine shooting way, supposedly they're kind of weak and not well-developed creatures. I don't know if that's going to stay for long, but that's the story now. So, like, don't force your axolotl to morph is the story. But, wow, there's a lot more of these morph ones than when I looked last time, too. All right, so I don't know. It's just weird. I just see, it seems to me like if all of your very closely related brethren lizards could survive on low iodine, you should be able to too. There really can't be that low in iodine all across the lands. I don't know what's going on, but it just seems weird. It specifically states in words that it is fruit inside a cornucopia. That's a good find. Yeah, definitely very interesting fruit of the loom info. That's a very popular Mandela for dudes because a lot of them, as kids, they had that underwear and stuff when they were kids. So they saw a lot of people learn the word cornucopia from that logo, as did I. They are Pokemon evolving. Yes. I'm very suspicious that this Pokemon thing has bred some of this into reality. Okay, so axolotls, and I think that's the last one that I have. Let me see. New Zealand. Actually, most of them are mine. Popcorn nymphs were J. Emblin, and the Barnacles was J. Emblin, the hand barnacles. And the breathing out of your butt was it was Shari D. That's right. Okay, somebody said rope tornado, so I'm going to look that up real quick. Boink. Not sure what we'll see. So it's just that it's really, really long and skinny. Tornadoes often assume a ropey, sinuous shape in their final minutes, but they can remain narrow like this during their entire life cycles. Although rope tornadoes may look weaker than much larger ones, some get more intense as they narrow. Okay. So I've had these on before that I don't remember tornadoes doing that kind of ridiculous business. What's even more? What? No, this can't be it. I'm thinking this must be fake. Um, I don't even know nowadays though. But I don't remember the word for it, rope tornado. So that's the first I'm hearing for this word. A rope-shaped tornado. So for me, way back, you know, you could usually not see the base of the tornado because there'd be all this junk. It'd just be a cloud of junk. So unless you were like in the tornado and getting killed, you wouldn't see it. So I've noticed over the years you could see the base more and more and more, and then they got these long ropey patterns, and so you got like this, and look at that. That goes all the way over there, there. I've had that on before that I don't remember it like that. They're getting even more silly. Look at that. Now I'm really curious about this one up here, if it's real or not. It looks really fake to me. Crazy Rope Tornado by James Williams. It looks really fake, but you just can't tell in this timeline anymore. Wait, how do I get there again? All right, that might be all there is. Crazy Rope Tornado by James Williams. Let's just see if we can find anything on that. Okay, there's the photo again. I think that's the same source we just came from. Fake. Okay. Fake, not rope tomatoes. These are not real. They are a creation of James Summon Dryliner. Okay, so these tied up rope ones. I wonder if we will start to see something like this coming into the timeline, though. Because if you remember, there was a meme fake image of multiple rainbows all kind of land, like 5 or 6 of them, and that was like totally fake. And then we started to, that one still got to be fake, but we started to see more and more real life ones looking closer and closer to that. And now that they're calling it a rope tornado, and we know that ropes are tied, I'm gonna make a prediction that we're gonna see some interesting rope-like phenomena, maybe some kind of knots thing or something like that. That's my prediction now. That one's fake now, but I think we're going to see more rope-like behavior. I mean, you're going to call it a rope. It's going to have... Then, of course, that's why it's called a rope, because it does rope-like things. That will be the new story. That's my prediction. I'm not 100%, but I predict it. They're called Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Yeah, I covered some of these syndromes before. Interesting that they showed up. There's also this depersonalization disorder where you feel like you're separate from your real self, which seems to be really common problem now, especially if you take psychedelics and stuff. For me, dust devils could not pick up 70-pound dogs. Yes, I agree with that. Is it doing that now? So for me, dust devils they would pick up leaves and pieces of paper. That was it. We'd run right into them because we did not fear them because they weren't dangerous. Dust devil picks up dog for an airborne spin. Let's see if we can get one with a video. So they're like mini tornadoes now. So somebody I know was saying, "Oh yeah, the sand will like scrape the paint right off your car," and we didn't have those kind of dust devils. All right, so jump forward a little bit. All right, there's the dog. Whew, it's getting lifted. Let me go back and see. I don't want to run at normal speed because that's how you get copyright. All right, so it looks like it flipped it once. All right, so it just spun him real quick. All right, interesting. So it just a little bit, but yeah, no, we didn't have that for me. What about the moon being lit from the bottom? The crescent is like a boat. Yeah, that was not in my timeline. I really think someone or something is trying to wake up people by making ridiculous Mandelas. Maybe we're trying to wake up ourselves, you know? Like, I don't know, but I do feel like we're getting trolled, like this breathing through your butt thing. You know, and there was been so many jokes lately about that in the last couple of years, and now it's happening. So we got rope tornadoes, and they're gonna turn into ropes. I mean, it's not there yet, but it just seems like it. Like, in politics is like this. Like, how ridiculous did the different people have to act until you wake up that politics is a bunch of liars? You know, how many times did they have to get caught doing something absolutely the opposite of what they said? How many payoffs do they need to get documented? And it's not just one side; it's both sides. That they're just, you know, how many porn kings does the evangelicals have to tout for office? And I'm talking about one guy that was running for mayor of Las Vegas. You know, come on, people. It's like, how bad does it got to get where you're like, you draw the line? No, this is wrong. Yes, I learned the word from my underwear. Cornucopia, I assume you mean. Not pig butts. All right. Well, I think I'm done unless you guys have any other last minute ones you want to look up. The world has turned into a circus. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's just so we're waiting for the UFOs now. Um, what is going to happen in the next few years? Are we going to get UFOs? Are they going to be really aliens, or are we just going to see weird lights in the sky and wonder if it's really just black ops baloney? I mean, I'm thinking we probably have anti-grav by now in this timeline, or we're gonna, because there's been a lot of anti-grav research in this timeline, and then it just sort of disappeared. And so the story is that when it disappears, it means that the government like scooped up all those researchers and they went underground. How many times do we have to catch NASA? Lie before you see everything they say is a lie. Yeah, there's a lot of really weird stuff in the ISS videos that makes it look like green screen. They say UFO will be seen first in Settle or Seattle? Okay, Seattle. Why did they say that though? I mean, who's they and why do they? I mean, I'm not trying to dispute it. I'm just really curious what their rationale is for that. Reality, as comprehended by finite beings, is partial, relative, and shadowy. The Urantia book. It could be kind of a vague statement, but has anyone had little things disappear in their houses that reappear later in different place? I have not had a lot of problems with that, but I have had stuff disappear and then come back like a year later in the same place that it disappeared from, that I looked for it like 50 times. 60 Minutes did a segment on UFOs. Yep, it's all the rage now. I think the aliens will be demons, not from another planet. Yeah, maybe. The water in Seattle and the big space needle will assist. Yes, sense of things disappearing. Flashlights and pants. They're setting us up for alien invasion or actual fallen angel demons. Shari D. My stuff that has disappeared has not returned yet. Just leave it open in your mind that it could come back, and it would be kind of neat. And then just let it go. That's the best I can get out of it. Like, well, someday it'll come back. So somebody was saying, you know, if there's an end times thing happening, and there's going to be weird signs in the skies, then they could blame it on UFOs, right? So maybe the UFOs is like a cover front. So this is what some of my evangelical friends think, that the UFO story is going to be a cover front for whatever sky phenomena we see. They'll just say, oh, it's UFOs. And that's kind of assuming they even know what's going to happen, like that maybe they're just got that set up there, so they can blame it on UFOs. It'll probably cost less panic than, say, the end times. I mean, it's been 10 years now that they disappeared, though. It's kind of a ways. It could still show up, though. You'll, like, unpack a box in the garage that has been packed for 10 years, and there they are. All right, people, I think it's time for me to hit it. 2020, my puppy tore up 3 of my shirts. They are now back in my closet. I'm assuming you mean without the holes in them. Yeah. I've heard some weird stuff about duplicating items, too. Like, people have a favorite item and they only have one, and then pretty soon they have, like, 2, and they're like, I thought I only had 1. So it kind of reminds me of, like, the famous paintings now, where there's more than one The Scream. There's more than one Mona Lisa. It's kind of like treasured items are kind of multiplying on us. So that kind of sounds like, our own desires. But, it could be also maybe a trap to get us to be more materialistic. So who the heck knows? Or maybe both. Anyways, yep, I think I'm about done. Only an hour and a half. It wasn't a ton of stuff this time, but thank you. You guys added a lot of stuff to it. So thank you very much for coming. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.